Okay, we are ready to reconvene the regular council meeting. We have no delegations tonight. The first item on the agenda is the council meeting minutes for approval, and there is an amendment to those meeting minutes. And it is item 13. Oh, sorry, we're on item 13. It's that the minutes of the regular council meeting of February 23rd, 2026, item 17A, RO 63-26 be amended by striking 2.2.26 and replacing it with 2.2.27. And then the motion is that the following minutes be adopted as amended. All those in favor? And that was carried. Thank you. So we have some resolutions from the February 23rd, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting to be considered for adoption. And the first one is that the staff adopt the Council Remuneration Review Committee terms of reference and direct staff to advertise for membership to the committee. All those in favor? Thank you. That was Councillor Butler. Did you vote?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And that was carried unanimously. A resolution that council approved the award of a one-year pavement marking services contract extension to Aardvark Pavement Marking Services for 2026 with a base price of $111,434.40 plus all applicable taxes, fees, and charges. Okay, thank you. All those in favor? And that was carried. And we have a resolution that council provide to the Take a Hike Youth Mental Health Foundation in the amount of $5,000 towards their operations. Thank you. All those in favor? And that was carried unanimously. A resolution that requests from the Greater Trail Community Skills Center for a grant contributing to their operations be deferred pending receipt of additional information.
I can.
Sure, do you want to?
Apologies, council. At our last meeting, we should have moved those resolutions from committee of the whole to regular, just to tie those off. However, we didn't, so just to make those resolutions official at the regular meeting, we're gonna tie these two off right before that actually comes up on business.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Seconder, please. All those in favor? And that was carried. And then we have a resolution that Greater Trail Community Skills Center be requested to provide additional information with respect to the proposed use of the grant and aid funds showing community benefit, and this information be returned to council for consideration. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you.
And there will,
Yeah.
there will be one resolution coming from today's committee of the whole,
Okay,
and I can read that out.
oh, sure.
So for council is the recommendation that council endorse the submission of a grant application to the Union of BC Municipalities Local Government Development Approvals Program 2026 intake for up to 200,000 to support improvements to the city's development approvals processes, and further that council endorse proposed project activities as outlined in this report, and further that council supports the City of Trail utilizing the grant and providing overall grant management if the funding application is successful.
Thank you, Councilor Wilson, Councilor Hanson, all those in favor? That's carried. Resolutions, or sorry, reports and meeting minutes of council committees. A resolution that council adopt the following minutes and recommendations within. The first one is the Major Industry Property Taxation Committee meeting, the draft minutes from February 18th, 2026. The Major Downtown Development Advisory Committee meeting, draft meeting minutes from February 19th, 2026. The Community Safety Task Force Committee meeting, draft minutes from February 23rd, 2026, and the Silver City Days Committee meeting draft minutes February 23rd, 2026.
Is there an opportunity to speak to these, or do they get?
Sure, yes,
speak first?
absolutely. I was going to ask if anybody wanted to speak on their committee.
You go first. No, please.
Yeah, I can have first.
Well, maybe we can look at the major downtown development advisory committee meeting draft minutes for a moment. Please. And just through the chair, I know Mr. Merkel made a comment in the, it's recorded in the minutes that he said, it's gonna be difficult to get government funding, given a recent announcement. Now, I think I can assume, and I can be corrected, that this government funding refers to the suspension or the cancellation of the community build fund. I want to say publicly on the record that I was shocked to see this announcement by our BC government in times of dire need for housing, perplexed as to how that could have happened. But anyway, my question is, and maybe it can be answered by the chair of the committee, is the committee aware of alternate or replacement funding streams that may become available if it is decided that affordable housing is that desired option to pursue on one of those two sites? And I don't want to believe in our 900 Spokane. That's my first question to the chair.
Okay, Councillor Hanson.
Yep,
Did
thank
you
you,
have-
thank you, Mayor Jones. Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Yes, so we have been investigating, we've had presentations from multiple different opportunities of different housing models and types. So we're in the investigative stages, having different groups come in and present different options. So there's land trust, there is the co-op. So we've been looking at alternatives as well as private entity opportunities, as well as we actually just had a that consultant was actually one that works out of Ottawa that works with CMHC, Build Canada Homes. So there's federal funding opportunities. There is still BC Builds. So there are still multiple opportunities for housing to be built. But it's making sure that we, you know, keep the nest open to look at what fits the best basket kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just a couple more questions through the chair.
Go ahead.
I guess, the question is, does the committee have engagement or interest from any nonprofit associations like to partner with at this point?
Not particularly like a nonprofit that was interested in the land to work with us. Right now, it's very much the getting what our options look like. Then we were going to be moving forward with a recommendation to council based on what those recommendations look like. And then from there, making a decision about what path is the best path to move forward on for those sites. Whether it be working with a nonprofit, whether it be working with a private equity opportunity, whether it be, so we're looking at different opportunities right now. Because of the fact that there is some, you know, issues now with community housing fund not being available, we're looking at all of our options as opposed to really narrowing it down to just one size fits all.
Perfect. Just one final question. It was mentioned in here, I think it's in Mr. Miner's comments. Who is Mr. Martini? And he's gonna have an assessment of the site. And would the committee consider, and I think this is something actually that Councillor Butler brought up some time ago, hiring a consultant to look at potential opportunities for these two projects at 900 Spokane and 901 Helena.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mayor Jones. And so Daryl Martini actually built in Castlegar, right where you go into town. So he was doing pre-sale units that ended up getting converted to rentals. So the conversation was that we wanted to look at other people that had recently done some development as some private equity interests to see what kind of things they're dealing with, to look at what options are out there for us. So really trying to look at a multitude of options before we make a recommendation to council, which path that we want to move forward on. Hence the note with the consultant. So the consultant, the ones that we had did a presentation to us about different opportunities and what they do. And then it will be up to the committee to make a recommendation if we would suggest moving forward with hiring a consultant that does actually assess the property. What can you build? How many units can you get? What's the costing gonna look like? Because although all of those are a bunch of unknowns that developers need to know. And what kind of costs are they gonna be to build there? So looking at really strategically, you know, you're not building a 6-unit with a Ferris wheel or 6-story with a Ferris wheel on top, because that's not gonna fit the budget. So what is gonna fit the budget? for that site that's actually gonna make sense for us to be able to move something forward without a pie in the sky idea that's not gonna have development for 20 years.
Brilliant, thank you for the chair, and thank you for those detailed responses, Councillor.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you. Through the chair, just want to comment on the Community Safety Task Force Committee meeting, draft minutes on February 23rd, 2026, sorry. We did send a questionnaire out to the committee regarding security patrol. I'm gonna let my co-chair, Councillor Benson, review it for you because, she was ingenious in putting the answers together.
Thank you. So at the end of the minutes, there's just a write-up of the data that we collected. So just over half of the committee responded. And it showed that the questions are really based around how we felt the current patrol program that we have through our security contract was working. And the survey results showed that while it's valued in principle, it's currently not meeting expectations. The members of the task force raised concerns about reporting practices, visibility, and overall impact. You'll notice on the final page, there are a list of 6 recommendations. Note that these are recommendations for the committee at this point. We haven't discussed and no motions to bring to council at this time. But it's very clear from the responses that we need to have a stronger contract with our security group to ensure that our expectations are being met. Is that okay? Perfect. There you go.
Yeah, just some questions on that report through the chair. I might have been asleep at the wheel. I'm not aware of a contract, and that's my question through the chair to staff. Can staff clarify when the security patrol program referred to in this report was established? And was it formally approved by council?
Predates me by a long time, so.
I can speak to a little bit from what I know from our meeting. There is nothing in place in terms of what the expectations were, and there's no real. I guess the scope of work was pretty cloudy. It's to check like washrooms to ensure that they're locked at night. Like at the park and I hate like the different areas that have the lockable doors, and a lot of it was just kind of reporting what they saw more so than see something we're going to call RCMP and escalate it. So that is what my understanding is, that we do have a contract in place that maybe doesn't have a very clear scope of work.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I don't have any exact dates, but it has been in place for a number of years. It is through with a local security company, and as Councillor Benson mentioned, they perform patrols through the nights. They provide reporting to staff and on things that happen through the night, and then we can escalate from there. But it's not real time, and it hasn't been looked at in a number of years.
Through the chair, would it be possible to maybe have a look at that contract and see what the cost has been associated to it since its implementation?
We can look at what parameters are in place that are putting that service in.
I mean, are we getting, I guess the question is, again, through the chair, are we getting value for the money spent? And that, I guess that goes into my second question through the chair. Does the city receive regular reports from the contractor? You already answered this. So there is reporting that's available to us if we wanted to have a look at it, I guess. And then lastly,
Sorry,
yeah, certainly.
and if you, I think this is just a report, but I can send you the data that was collected because there was comments on the quality of the report. So a lot of the comments were would like to see a more formal report.
Thank you. And then just my final question is through the chair to the committee. Would the Community Safety Task Force consider a broader survey to downtown businesses and their staff, and perhaps an online survey for shoppers and visitors to our downtown area?
Through the chair,
Go ahead,
I
Councillor
think
Martin.
that's a great idea. I think we can maybe bring that up for our next meeting, which is in 2 weeks.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Question or two.
sorry, Councillor
Yeah.
Butler.
I know that Staff Sergeant Johnson had just joined at the recent meeting. I noticed a definite increase in patrols in the downtown area and which is wonderful news to be seeing. I was just wondering how this was. How are we to expect a large overtime bill in a year's time, or how is this being funded? Or have the questions been talked about yet? If we could be asked for next meeting.
Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
To the chair, we're not aware of any overtime costs, but when Staff Sergeant Johnson was there, that was one of his personal mandates. Whatever community he goes to, he wants to be boots on the ground, walking through. He's encouraging his constables, his staff, whenever they're available to do that, to get out of the vehicle and walk around downtown. So I don't have any idea if they do overtime this one.
I just want to be very clear then, and I was very happy to see, and I actually saw Sergeant Johnson get out of his car. And so I know exactly, I just wanted to know what was different from before and how we were going to be funding the differences if required.
I'm not sure, through the chair, sorry.
Sure.
I'm not sure if there's any overtime associated with it at this point.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments on that? No? I know that when I did my meet and greet and walkabout with, Staff Sergeant Johnson, we did talk about more, patrols downtown and especially, foot patrols, down in the downtown, area, and I have noticed a lot more RCMP, downtown, so that's good. I think it's a good sign. I feel like things are a little bit quieter. And actually, Staff Sergeant Johnson did stop to help one of the individuals that was having a situation in the middle of the street. So he helped them onto the side of the street and checked to make, a wellness check, and away he went. But I think that's going to be a really important part of his plans going forward, is to spend more time downtown. Councilor Benson.
If I can just speak to the Silver City Days.
Sure.
Your worship. So thank you, the committee or council approved the purchase of the sunshades, so a purchase order has been cut. And we should have them within 2 weeks. And you'll be very excited to know that we have a entertainer for the Saturday night, and it will be announced on Wednesday, but Sean Hook will be coming to jail for the Saturday night show.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilor Benson. How many days?
58
All right.
Wednesday.
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 I can give you a quick overall of the major industry property taxation committee meeting that we had. Myself and Councilor Martin were there. Kelly Robinson, our deputy chief financial officer, Matt Perilla, general manager of tech operations, and Richard Dean, trail tech operations. I just wanted to, and Councilor Wilson sent his regrets, but just a quick overview of some of the things we talked about. And mostly it was a good opportunity. Mr. McClure gave an overview of what's happening downtown with both of our buildings. The Major Downtown Development Advisory Committee is proposing options for those sites. We talked about all the upgrades that are happening at the Trail Memorial Center. The Andy Belisky Park, it was the revitalization of the baseball park. Of course, we had the BC Winter Games that were coming out. We just let them know what was the city's role in it. Had a conversation about the Unicorn Daycare Center. And we got a little bit of an update on the progress of that. There's a small issue with the sewer transfer there, but pretty sure that they can work through it. We talked about the downtown exchange as well, and some of the improvements that were coming from there. So in 2026, we do have some challenges coming up, and that is challenges that could affect the 2026 revenues. We're developing and implementing a phased-in tax policy strategy to reduce major industry taxpayers' balance and rebalance the burden of the other property classes. So, with that, further discussion about the effects that it's going to have on the property assessments across all property classes. And with that information, we invited them to council meeting today, for today, and, they did come this afternoon and gave a full report of their plans, and basically that is how we ended. It was a really good meeting, lots of information was shared, and, yeah. Is there any questions on that?
Uh,
Councillor Martin?
I don't have any questions for you. I just want to recognize Mr. Minor and Mr. Maloney for assisting Councillor Benson and myself with that security patrol questionnaire.
It's useful.
Great, thank you. Okay, if there's no questions, the motion is before you that the following minutes and recommendations within be adopted. Thank you, seconded, thank you. All those in favor? And that was carried. Regional District of Kootenai Boundary Report, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, through the chair. On behalf of council, I attended the following RDKB meetings on Wednesday, February the 25th, on RDKB board meeting trail. The board of directors approved the financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024. The board of directors received the second draft for the consolidated 2026 to 2035 year financial plan. The board of directors directed the corporate officer to execute the contribution agreement with the Columbia Basin Trust for the delivery of the READY grants for the 2027 to 2028 term. The following bylaws were adopted: Christina Lake Water Utility Regulation and Rates, and the Beaver Valley Water Service Regulation and Rates. Our TV electoral area directors approved 15 grants and aid totaling $33,351. On Wednesday, March 4th, we had an RDKB strategic working group meeting in Trail. Director Everett Baker, who is also the mayor of Grand Forks, provided a presentation to the board regarding the roles and responsibilities of an RDKB board member versus their municipal role, whether that being mayor or city council. His presentation also included an explanation on both organizations being local governments but serving different purposes. On Wednesday, March 4th, I attended an RDKB board meeting in Trail. The Big White Security, as a result, the Big White Security Service review survey completed by the residents. And it's been extended for a 5-year it's been added to the 5-year financial budget and will reflect a reduction in the level of service to 12 hours per day year-round for the security service. Financial savings will be allocated to the Big White Recreation and Culture Service. RDKB electoral area directors approved 9 grants and aid totaling $30,380. These are part of the meetings I attended, but just for information purposes, there's gonna be open houses this week and put on by the RDKB Fire Smart Emergency Management Team. Excuse me. Tuesday, March 10th at the Village of Montrose, Wednesday, March 11th at the Village of Warfield, and Thursday, March 12th at the City Trail. It will be at the Jail Crow. And they're all at 6 p.m. And they're having conversations about wildfire risk reduction and fuel management in our area. On another note, there is also a survey on the RDKB website regarding the update to the solid waste management plan. This is an opportunity for residents to help guide recycling, waste reduction, landfill planning, and diversion programs. To access the survey, go to the RDKB website and click on the Join the Conversation link to complete the survey. Anyone who completes the survey will be entered to win one of 2 $50 everything gift cards. Don't know what those are, but. And that's it for my report. If anybody needs the actual link to the survey for the solid waste management plan upgrade, just contact me after the meeting and I can get it to you. That's it for my report.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Any questions? Councillor Benson?
Thank you. 2 questions through the chair. You said that they approved financials for dates ending December 2024.
Yeah, it's the year before, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Any reason why they're so late?
I don't have an answer for it. Maybe
Okay.
Mr. McClure being a financial wizard.
Is that normal?
It's not normal, but
Oh, okay.
much like, I think they had some staffing
Oh, okay.
challenges.
Yeah,
as of,
very
you
good
know,
point. There were some financial or is staffing issues through the finance department, lots of them,
Yeah.
which delayed a few things.
And then my second question, Mr. Baker gave a presentation on the role of a director, why now and not 3 years ago when you?
Well, that's a great question. These are the strategic working group and every director around the table is gonna have an opportunity to talk about, speak on the topic.
Right.
And what did come out of this meeting is that, or this actual working group session was that this election in this fall, usually just the directors around the board, like the board of directors get the RDKB 101, but they're gonna invite councils from every municipality to this at some point. How it's gonna work, how it's gonna look, I'm not 100% sure. So everybody's gonna get that opportunity to understand the RDKB workings better, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions for Councilor Martin? No? Okay, thank you. So we have some other reports here, and it is a Greater Trev Communities Skills Center. An application requesting a grant and aid support of sustaining operations. And there was 3 reports here. Oh, thank you, Councilor Butler. There was a grant and aid application for the Greater Trail Skills Center. The additional information that we requested after the February 23rd meeting, and the Trail Skills Center link cash forecast for 2026 and 2027, explaining what we're going to use the grant and aid for. Is there any questions about those documents?
Do we speak to it before
Sure, yeah.
we approve? Cause, I
Before
do
the
have,
discussion.
or do you have
Be
to?
on the floor.
The resolution to be on the floor.
Yeah, correct.
Can only one moves in second, please?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Well, thank you to and perhaps I see that we do have guests tonight. I see Miss Cora and Mr. Andrews is here. Perhaps maybe they want to speak further to this before I make my commentary. We did invite Miss Cora to. Pardon me?
Do you
Pardon?
have questions for them?
Well, sure. Thank you for providing the additional information. And after reviewing the updated information, my concerns are as follows. First, the request for short-term operational support to sustain the organization while it determines long-term viability. Municipal grants are generally intended to support specific programs, projects, or measurable community outcomes, not to stabilize an organization that is currently undergoing financial restructuring. Secondly, the information provided still does not clearly demonstrate why the amount requested is specifically $30,000. The cash flow projections show significant financial pressures that extend well beyond that amount, suggesting that this funding is only a temporary bridge rather than a solution. Thirdly, it's important to recognize that the regional district is already approved. I understand, I can be corrected on this, a $30,000 cash grant. And of course, our city contributes to that funding as well. And fourthly, the organization is currently undergoing a leadership transition and a strategic and financial review. Given that this work is underway with financial advisors, it would possibly be more prudent to allow that process to conclude before the city considers any additional financial involvement. So those are the reasons why at this time I do not believe this request aligns with the intended purpose of municipal grant funding. And I cannot support this $30,000 cash grant request. Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cashel. Before we go to the guests on Zoom, Mr. McClure wants to speak to that.
Just one clarification, that I wanted to make sure the council was aware that the $30,000 that the regional district was providing is actually funded by the 6 other entities other than the city of Trail. So we actually don't fund that. That would just ton of clarity kind of component.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. McClure.
Okay. Is there anybody online that would like to answer those questions? Is it Emily or Reese?
Yeah, I can say, as for the RDKB, the $30,000, so there was a motion that said the East End Services Committee support up to 30,000. So that 30,000 isn't confirmed, but just up to that amount. And yeah, thank you for giving us the opportunity to provide more information. Yeah, at this point, we are looking for the organizational funding. Funding to sustain the organization while we work with the consultant to figure out the path forward.
Okay, thank you.
I'll add a little bit and, first of all, just try to remember some of your points, Nick, and just address a few of them. But firstly, the $30,000, it's not an exact amount against, a shortfall that we have at the skill center. It's part of a contribution that we're looking at a number of organizations to support us as we try to turn around the organization, and a period of restraint that we're being, affected from the provincial government. As we stated earlier in a closed meeting, we are in a financial difficulty, and you've seen that in our financial statements. But the 30,000 is not a strategic number. It could be less, it could be more, frankly. But it's a number we thought was a reasonable ask to this fund. As to whether this particular ask fits to the fund, I think that's really up to the City of Trail to direct us and tell us if we've met that task or not. In terms of the feasibility study that we're going to be undertaking imminently, we're hoping for a number of options to be explored there for our organization that support us to turn around the organization, but it also may be an option that the organization is unsuccessful and not viable, given our financial situation. I think that's important for the City of Trail to understand. I don't want to sugarcoat this in any way. However, we're working very hard to continue to be in a position to continue to offer the services that we've offered for decades to the community around poverty reduction and employment services. And I think that's really important for the councillors to understand that this is, while this is impacting employees with employee layoffs and a number of very difficult cost-cutting measures that we're undertaking, we're really keeping our focus on the community and what this organization provides the community, and not only the organization itself. And I think that's really important. And the board and staff are trying to be very responsible and accountable to that. This is a contribution that we're asking for to a bigger picture, obviously, and a bigger picture in terms of we're asking others for funds as well. And and the idea of waiting for the feasibility study is not unreasonable. I just don't know what it's going to add to the picture that we have already given you, but that's something that I can't say with clarity tonight. We hope to have the results of the feasibility study in about a month and a half, maybe less. So it's going to take a bit of time. But currently we continue to be batting down the hatches and trying to just survive through a period of time where we just don't have the program funding that we have typically had for decades. So hopefully that adds a bit of a picture, Nick, and others on council. In terms of, the benefits to the community, there's just so many things that the Skills Center does that directly relate to particularly people who are underprivileged and difficult to employ within the community for a very long time. And I think that continues to be a great need of Trail and all of the communities that we try to serve within the Kootenay boundary. And, so.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cashel, I'm gonna go to Councillor Benson.
Of course.
Thank you through the chair. Hi, Reese. I think for me, this was a really good learning in terms of really showcasing the work that the Skills Center has done, and that maybe moving forward, I guess it's hard to maybe like brag about all the good work that they've done, but the fact that we've sat around the table and having to having to even ask how is this helping our community when we know the work is there. So just a point to really, maybe for a lot of our service groups moving forward, to really make sure that you're really communicating the work that you're doing for the community. And if this was to go through, what type of reporting would we expect to see in terms of how things are going?
Yeah, I think that we can keep you updated on the results of the feasibility study, where things are at, the options or the plan for moving forward. Um, I mean, I don't know, Reese, if there's anything else you can think of, or if there's something in particular. Um,
Well, I mean, and Emily and I've talked about this, and just so everybody's clear, Emily is the incoming executive director, so she's speaking on behalf in that role tonight. I'm open to anything from the board's perspective. Obviously, reviewing the feasibility study outcomes with you, and we're hoping that it includes options, and those options may be around potential mergers or being acquired by another nonprofit within the area. We're very concerned about the building, and we really want to be sure to continue to see that as an asset for the community. And there are many other nonprofit stakeholders that use that building. And we're going to be increasing the use of that building by FAIR, moving some really key programs they have into the building imminently. But I think we could update you on progress like that as well, outside of the feasibility study, of just the types of things that we are successfully working on and things that haven't worked out so well. I'm completely aware of the concerns that I think this has of requesting $30,000 and not guaranteeing that will make the difference. It won't. We need additional things as well. There is risk, and I think that's important. So any level of reporting and check-ins, we would absolutely be committed to. And we've been doing that with our other partners, and including the City of Trail as well. So I think that's something we would put in writing and to share with council, so they have some commitment there.
Grace, nice to meet you, Emily.
You too.
Reese, I do have a question. I'm just kind of wondering if you've heard from the province on your grant application or your funding application. You said you were waiting to hear back. Have you heard anything?
We haven't heard anything back for the community gaming grant, although I know other, notices aren't going out. I think we should hear by next week at the latest. And then we haven't heard back from the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction either, for a program that starts April 1st.
Okay, thank you. And I know that Reese mentioned that there's a risk of, of us giving you the $30,000. But what about I guess my question, I just want to make sure I say this right, is that, we do have the risk of people not being able to get the education that they need to enter into any job positions that are available in the community, which is some of the training that you guys do. I just feel like the Skills Center is the hub of the community where, people go to get support and help with some of the challenges that they have to get into society and, be able to be out on their own. And I guess what I'm asking is, if you don't get this money, like, how long do you think that you'll be able to stay open?
Want me to tackle this, Emily? I can't give you a clear answer tonight, unfortunately, Colleen. You know, we're I think I mentioned at the closed meeting last time that sort of you know, just in terms of the cost of operations was something in the order of $40,000 to $50,000 a month, and that was our, you know, our mortgage and staff and our costs of you know, the building and so on. So you know, we have a financial plan right now that takes us to June, July, something like that. We're working very hard to extend that window to the end of the fiscal period. And we're hopeful, and we're making some progress in that regards, but some of the answers haven't come in as yet, and we're expecting some of those answers imminently. So that's my reluctance to say for sure, but that's our goal. And the reason that's our goal is that the provincial government has just put a, you know, just is not funding employment programming to the types of clients that we provide in 2026. Almost no money is coming towards that. So we're really just holding the fort until those requests for proposals come out later in 2026 to start delivery in April 2027. So those core services that we have been providing are really limited for the coming year. We have some small projects, but they're just not big enough to sustain the operations of the organization. I mean, we're going down to 4 staff from earlier this year of sort of 14. So, you know, just to give you an idea of the level of change going on at the Skills Center, because we don't have major program funding right now. So, you know, we've got commitments to our lender around the building and really trying to stay in a position so that we can continue to provide those vital services when that funding starts flowing again. So, you know, that's my best answer to that question, Colleen, is we would be able to provide the city a little bit greater clarity. I'm going to guess in, you know, this is outside of the feasibility study in maybe 3 weeks. Something.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Reese. Councillor Cashel.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, you mentioned, Mr. Andrews, that you're looking at maybe possibly getting grants from other sources besides the government grants you've already mentioned. Is there any other entities out there that have provided grant funding to the Greater Trail Skills Center? That's my first question.
Yeah, we've received funding from a variety of foundations across Canada. RBC Foundation is one of our biggest ones. They've provided funding for 3 different projects over the last few years. We engage with just other family foundations, ranging from BC, Ontario, Quebec. They gave building funding as well as some program funding.
But under the current climate that you're under, any funding to help support you in this transition? Any grants is what I'm asking. Other agencies, have they provided, like the Columbia Basin Trust, for example? I read, I think in the report that they've given some monies to help with the feasibility study, but beyond that, is there any other grant monies that you've acquired in the last, say, 2 months? Or recent?
Yeah, I mean, the funding from Coldest Night of the Year, it is unrestricted funding. So we can put it towards organization because we do poverty reduction work. So that event brought in almost $14,000. And then, you know, when we yeah, any other program funding, a portion of program funding does cover organizational expenses. So if we are able to get program funding, then we will get some funding for the organization, not just direct project costs.
Again, and my final question, employment services. Currently, do you have anybody in the employment services program? And how does your program differ from what's offered at Work BC, which is situated down here on Bay Avenue? Where's the difference? And is there an overlap of services that are offered?
Yeah, so there's a difference in the way that we can deliver services. We work primarily with a different ministry where there isn't as much of a eligibility criteria or administrative component to it. So we have a lot more flexibility with delivering services. So like we're able to do programming where we do, equine assisted learning, where we work with Little Oasis out in Casino, and people are able to learn these skills that are really foundational in their life and also transfers to employment. We do work with Work BC so that we aren't duplicating services. So we have a certain level of financial supports that we can provide each client in our programs. And then anything over that anything over that, we work with Work BC, and it's a reciprocal relationship. So they have maximums for financial supports, so they also refer clients to us. So did that answer your question? There was
Anybody, just specifically, if anybody in the employment program currently that you're working with?
Yep. We had this year in our RISE program, we had about 40 clients. That program is ending, so currently we have about 6 clients in that program. In Sparking Opportunities, which is our self-employment program for people with disabilities, we have currently 12 people. And then we also have the Inclusive Futures in Industry and Trades. That ranges, I think we have about 30 people in that program. And that's the one where we work with trades employers and industrial employers. And we arrange job shadowing opportunities so that women and gender diverse individuals can learn about careers in the trades and network with employers.
Okay. Is there any other questions before we go to the motion? Councilor Hanson.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Thank you guys for the presentation, and all the additional data. And I mean, looking at the numbers, really, like the cash flow stops in May. Like you can't, at this point, based on the financials, you guys can't afford your mortgage in June. So, I mean, I'm just trying to understand how long, with what your costs are, if you're not getting funding till October, how are you gonna be able to get caught up? And while you're mitigating these situations, and are there other funding opportunities other than the ones that you're, I don't know if they're guaranteed to the $99,000 funding for October, or if they are ones you're expecting to get. Mr. Andrews, if you could share, or Ms. Gora, that would be great.
I'll take a shot at this, Emily. We have a large proposal that, we'll learn the results of in about a week or two. That would provide a couple $100,000 of operating funding for us. We don't know if we'll be successful with that proposal, but we are competing for it. We are having conversations with Kootenay Savings right now about how they can support. So we are having an active conversation. We're waiting for some answers from them on that. We've given them all of the information. So that's a significant conversation. So we've got some significant opportunities that if those emerge, we are viable for the year. So believe me, we lose sleep. This is a tough situation to be a staff member, to be a board member. We're working we're working night and day. But there's reason for hope. And I don't think we'd be here tonight if we didn't have that. We're very, very aware of the accountability and responsibility we have to the community. And to the building and to all of our assets and all our staff to get this right. But I just don't have those answers right now tonight. We're hopeful around our conversation with the KSCU. And we'll see what happens with this proposal, providing services actually in the community of Nelson. So that's Emily. I think that's probably a covers the picture. There are smaller little examples here, but they're just not significant as those two major examples. So the feasibility study is based on Doan, Grant Thornton, and some preliminary conversations with them that are don't give up yet. We think there are some ideas here, and we're going to work with you. So and Columbia Basin Trust. They're not interested in operational funding. We know that, that's the way their organization operates, and I'm totally fine with that. But they agreed to fund the feasibility study, and Grant Thornton thinks there's opportunity there as well. So we're excited to get that work going. We're just finalizing a contract with them in the next day or so.
Thank you, Reese. And Emily, thank you both for being here tonight. Is there any other questions from council before we go to the motion? No? Okay. So the resolution is that the request from the Greater Trail Community Skills Center for a grant in the amount of $30,000 contributing to their operations be approved. All those in favor of the approval? And all those against? Okay.
Table, motion is defeated.
The motion of approval is defeated.
Yeah, correct. It is not a majority.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we'll get Paul in. Oh,
Council Wilson scrapping it.
We leave now, correct?
yes, thank you so much.
Thanks very much, everybody. Night night.
So we'll move on to item 19. Correspondence for information. The resolution is that the following correspondence be received for information. CF1 Marion Fisher, CF1 Gordon and Marion Fisher, CF1 Danny Ferrero, CF1 City of Prince George. Someone want to make that motion? Thank you. Is there any questions or comments?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor.
No, sorry, thank you, Mayor Jones. I'd like to pull, the letter from, Prince George. I think that we are all dealing with, a number of issues in regards to, repeat offenders. And I know that Kelowna, Mayor Dias was just in, Ottawa speaking to this particularly about needing to have those that have repeat actions actually making something happen and appointing more judges and crown prosecutors so that things can happen in a timely manner, that they don't just get pushed off and not dealt with and having the same issues again and again. So I would like to support the city of Prince George and send our own letter to the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General of Canada in support to the letter that they've sent to us.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Do we do this separately now?
If you pull them out, so this one's just, if there's a motion to be made from the piece of information, then the motion can go on the floor.
Okay. So Councillor Hanson, there's a motion to send our own letter to the city of Prince George.
And as well as support their petition, yes.
Okay, thank you. And all those in favor of that motion? Opposed?
It wasn't motion and seconded.
You're right, sorry, Councillor Hanson. So is there a seconder for the motion? Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? That was carried, thank you. Is there any other
Any other
requests to pull?
yeah, we can pull some more letters. The first one
The post box out.
for Marion Fisher's letter, we can just have a quick look at that one. where there's concern raised over the proposal of having the public washroom with the new transit on Cedar Avenue. I guess the question that I can ask, can staff provide an update on 955 Portland Avenue? That's my first question, and then I have something further as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Through
Market.
the chair, yes, we can speak to that. The city is now, has made an offer and, is in the final stages of purchasing 955 in Portland.
Thank you very much, and this is a motion suggested actually by our CAO that I'd like to present. I'd like to suggest a motion that staff work with BC Transit to explore alternative locations for the public washroom that is part of the transit exchange improvement process. I'd like to
I'll
make that
second that.
motion.
Oh, Doug's gonna second that. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? That was carried.
And the Fishers have been busy writing letters, but you know, it's important to be engaged in our affairs. So the next letter is from Gord and Marion Fisher. And it's dealing with parking issues on Groudage Avenue. I'll say publicly that my intention, and I don't think it's the intention of this council to micromanage operations, but to simply ensure that residents that have raised concerns with the city, you know, receive clear response and the council understands how the issue was handled. So through the chair, my question is, could staff advise on the response to the concerns raised in the Fisher's letter regarding parking on Groudage Avenue and whether any review of that situation is planned? Thank you.
Well, just other than, when the city took on the improvements of Groudage, part of that, was that we created new parking. And we have, put in paid parking there now. And so we have enforcement. And so, in having enforcement and having snow clearing and having different costs, that's why we have the paid parking for the location. We know that the Fishers were interested in maybe not happy about the paid parking, but we worked with them because they wanted designated spots right for their properties. We do know that they do own property in the area and could have parking spots used by their tenants there, but we tried to work with them where they put signage up, and in good faith, we allowed them to have that space designated for their particular individual tenant. They do have street parking on one of the properties, but they have two people staying at that location, so they wanted another one. It's not in the city's, responsibility to provide parking for those that have more than multiple locations for their property. We also have many people that have homes but do not have the ability to park in the area, and so they've come to us and asked for parking. Some of them park all day there, and some of them park mostly, some for work. So we've made that process. It's been a fair process. We did agree, have a signage up for the parking spaces that are available for the Fishers. I understand that the one person didn't want to pay anymore and then went over and parked in the properties owned by the Fishers. So that's a decision that they would have made. And so if they don't want to have that spot anymore, that's certainly something that we can, someone else will happily rent it. The part for us is that if we don't have sort of parking enforcement, you could just have people park there all the time. And then you would run into the situation where people are upset because like, hey, I live in the area, or, it wouldn't guarantee a spot. So that's part of the benefits of having a location, especially if it's signage for an actual residence, because there aren't too many residents down there. And we also know that the proponents also have space and they rent that out to other people. So sometimes there's a bit of a hard to reconcile how, if I've got property there and I rent it out to other people for parking, but then I don't want to pay for parking for the rental for the spaces that are now city owned, operated, cleaned, maintained, painted, and enforced. So we certainly feel that we have been fair, and I understand it can be a change from what used to be there. And even before, there wasn't much there. It was just sort of a dirt kind of area parking. So I understand that it's a change, but I think that we've handled it properly.
Thank you. And can I address the letter from Mr. Ferrero? Can we talk about that?
We haven't pulled that one up yet, but you can go ahead.
Okay. This letter kind of addresses 4 different sort of policy discussions. One is concern of the toxic drug crisis, the drug addiction issues that our city is facing. That's the first issue he's raising. He also raises another issue where there's some confusion, at least from his perspective, on the different roles between the RCMP and our municipal bylaw. That's sort of number 2. The third area that he talked about is the city needing to look at the possibility of a regional rehabilitation center. And then the fourth area is concerning shelter operations and maybe the need for an audit. So I just want to say thank you to Mr. Ferrero for the letter. And again, I encourage residents to write letters to council. I think it's important for us to have these documents that we can look at and become part of our historical data. And I just want to point out that issues 1 and 2 involving the drug issues, the addiction issues and the behaviors and the confusion between bylaw and RCMP. I'll address that later. Spoiler alert, I guess you could say, and I notice the motion. And I want to comment just on his request for the city to look at the possibility of a regional rehab center. I want to point out that our council, through Mayor Jones's I think leadership on this, that a resolution has been brought forward to the AKBLG, which was advanced to the UBCM, calling for funding and support for just exactly that, a regional mental health and addiction service for this area. I know that the mayor's worked with the mayors from Nelson and Castlegar on this as well. So this is something that this council, I can proudly say, has been advocating for from inception, and we will continue to advocate for that. So, and again, I appreciate it being noted in the letter. And fourthly, concerning the El Nina temporary trail operations, I will say that I also have a notice of motion coming forward later in this meeting that I think will hopefully partially address the concerns raised there as well. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Castle. Councillor Butler.
Just on that, too, those are great points, Councillor Castle. I know we had a meeting scheduled with Mr. Farrow, and I think due to some scheduling conflicts, he wasn't able to make it. Is it possible that we could ask staff to have him back whenever it's convenient for him to come? Because I think almost all 4 points through other upcoming motions that are on the table tonight that were submitted several weeks ago, and others that were also, I just wanted to add that the AKBLG moved from the AKBLG to the UBCM and was endorsed at the UBCM as well. So it is at the provincial table at this point. So I really hope that we can work with Mr. Farrell and like that these are things that we're working hard to solve. And so hopefully if time allows and he's available, it would be wonderful to have him back and perhaps even bring in some of the people that might need to be able to have those discussions too from the shelter and the RCMP. Thank you.
I agree with both of what you said, and I was actually responding back to Danny with a letter. So I do want to read it out to council, because if I've missed anything, then please let me know. But I just thank you, Mr. Farrell, for taking the time to write and share your concerns about what you're seeing in our downtown. I want you to know that council takes these concerns very seriously. And we hear regularly from business owners, residents, and service providers who are worried about the same issues. And we all want Trail to remain a safe place to live. The reality is that many of the challenges that you described as part of a much bigger provincial crisis, the toxic drug emergency has been in place in British Columbia for nearly 10 years. And communities across the province are feeling the impact. And while we often deal with the visible effects and many of the services needed to address the root cause, such as mental health care, addictions treatment, supportive housing and shelter operations, they all fall under the provincial responsibility. So that said, council has been actively advocating for stronger supports in a community like ours. And we continue to work with Interior Health, community service providers, and the province to ensure that our community's concerns are heard. We've had regular meetings with the province, the BC Housing, and when the shelter was going in, and we continue to meet with them on issues. We also recognize the growing pressure that this crisis has put on our first responders, including the fire, the police, and the ambulance services. We've also begun discussions with our new RCMP staff sergeant regarding safety in the downtown area. And while he is new in the role, we've already spoken about the importance of increased police presence downtown, foot patrols, and particularly around certain dates such as the check issue dates. And that's something we believe that we can help both businesses and residents. So regarding the Nina shelter, it's important to understand that shelters in British Columbia are funded by BC Housing and operated by nonprofits. And while the city does not manage the day-to-day operations, we do remain in contact with BC Housing and the service provider. So these challenges are very real for Trail, and we all understand, council is very understanding of the impact that they're having on our downtown businesses. And our local businesses are really a vital part of our city and the heart of our city. And, you know, their safety matters to all of us. So we will continue to advocate for the provincial resources and the partnerships needed to address those challenges. I would like to invite Mr. Farrow to come to council to discuss ideas and suggestions that he might have to help resolve this issue that we're having downtown. So I'm glad we've made a motion for staff to officially invite him. And I hope he will take this opportunity to come and to speak to council. Is there anything I need to add to that? No? Okay, thank you.
Do we need to vote? Is it an motion or just a
Yeah.
request?
Is there a motion to, I guess we have to do all three of those.
It was a previous motion, wasn't it? And the schedule was just to shift it in, yeah. So we could just act on the previous one.
Okay. So is there a second to the motion? All those in favor? For the motion to invite Danny.
Yeah, because we don't have one for us regular.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I thought Councillor Castro made that motion.
No,
Right.
not me,
Then-
your worship, I think
Okay,
Councilor Butler suggested.
Are we working on the original one or are we working on, do we need a new one tonight?
I'd have to check. I thought we had one on that. I don't even necessarily know we need a motion. I think we're just, I think council wants us to invite Mr. Ferrero, so we will invite Mr. Ferrero. When the schedule works with what we need. We'll take care of that.
Okay.
okay, so the resolution is that the following correspondence will be received for information. Thank you. All those in favor? Okay, thank you. So we do have some correspondence for action. And the first one is the BC Council of Forest Industries, request for endorsement. The forest industry. Writing a letter, I believe. Is there a motion to, request? Thank you, Councilor Wilson, a seconder. Thank you. All those in favor? So the next one is the GPS CIDP Foundation of Canada request to proclaim the GBS and the CIDP Awareness Month in the city of Trail be approved. Thank you, Councillor Wilson and Councillor Hanson. All those in favor? I feel like we just did this one. Thank you.
I feel like it comes every year.
Once a year, like Christmas.
Okay, so I'll move on to the mayor's report. Obviously very busy the last couple of weeks with the BC Winter Games that, you know, we've had several discussions about that. We were able to, I thought it went really, really well. During that time, I had the opportunity to spend the day on Saturday, February 28th, with Minister Ann Kang and our MLA Steve Morissette, as well as their assistants and Councillor Butler. Now, Minister Kang is the Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture and Sport. And it was a full day of showing our region from Roslyn to Castlegar, Fruitvale, and of course Trail. And there was lots of sports to be seen, and we had a visit to the Castlegar Arts Center. We showed off the Don Nutini plaque at the Trail Airport. Anything that we could see, we saw in that short period of time. And so it was quite fun, actually. It was really good to show them our area and really happy that they could visit us during such an exciting time for our region. And then March the 2nd, we had a request to attend a meeting with Minister Gregor Robertson. He's the Housing and Infrastructure Minister from the federal BC Housing and Infrastructure Minister, and he had some exciting news for our region. For the Klesnikov lumber in Castlegar, we'll be receiving $5.5 million in federal tariff response funding. And the investment is a repayable and interest-free, and it will go towards new equipment to expand production of the prefabricated and mass timber building components. So that's really exciting for us because it does give that industry a little bit of stability. And not only that, will help support families for generations to come. Also had the opportunity during that time to learn more about the incredible work that's happening at the Selkirk Technology Access Center. Minister Robertson went up there as well, and it was really neat to see the employees of STAC show them that the work that they're doing, and you know, explain that STAC is helping local businesses with design and improve products using advanced technology. Like the 3D printer is amazing, and they actually have a robot there that they're testing for ATCO lumber, which I thought was really quite interesting. And also they help with digital design, and it was really really informative. They're supporting small business and medium-sized businesses and creating, you know, hands-on opportunities for learning, bringing in students to help with that training, and just building a really skilled workforce in our region, which we need for the future. I was also invited to participate in a discussion with the Community Action Initiative Working Group. And I wanted to bring this information back to council, so we have an idea of what's being discussed across the province. And so there's 3 meetings. I missed the first one because I was away, and there's another meeting tomorrow. So the Community Action, just to give you an idea of what it's about, the Community Action Initiative is a provincial network working group that connects community organizations, healthcare partners, and people with lived and living experience who are working on responses to the toxic drug crisis. So as we know, in April of 2016, the province declared a public health emergency due to the rising number of deaths related to the toxic drugs. And the emergency remains in place today and is monitored through agencies such as the BC Centre for Disease Control. So the Community Action Initiative brings together people in this area with lived experience, community outreach group, health partners, including Interior Health, service providers, first responders, and local government, just to share information and some support on community-led responses. So as we approach 10 years since the declaration of the public health emergency, some communities are beginning conversations about ways to acknowledge the lives that have been lost. Now, in the interior region, including the West Kootenays, we have experienced some of the highest overdose rates in the province, which is why this conversation is being raised locally. So at this time, as I said, it's just information for council to be aware of and to consider whether something, whether we wanted to provide an area for individuals that are unhoused to go and have a place to grieve and remember their friends or family that have been lost to the drug crisis. So tomorrow we have another meeting and I will have some more information to share after that meeting. But I just really wanted to share with council that this might be coming forward at the next council meeting and what it might look like too. So we'll have a better idea tomorrow because right now they're just tossing ideas around. There's no cost to the community. It will be something that will be funded through the province. And finally, Community Futures. I just wanted to, Community Futures, which is another economic development partner. We just heard this year that Eric Clackus was retiring and they have a new executive director of the Community Futures South Kootenay has been appointed. And his name is Carmen Farr. And I have not had the opportunity to meet him yet, but I'm looking forward to working with them and invite him to council at his earliest convenience so we can all meet him. And that's the end of my report. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a number of bylaws for consideration.
Just
Go ahead.
one bylaw.
So we have bylaw number 2968, 2026, and that is a bylaw to allow short-term rental accommodation at the property located at 3249 Lyman Crescent. Is there someone to make that motion? All those in favor? And that was carried. Notice of motion. Councillor Hanson, you're up first.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor Jones. And, you know, in reading Mr. Ferrero's letter, Councillor Butler alluded to the notice of motion that I presented to introduce back on February 9th. And so the briefing of it is that while the city of Trail contributes significant annual funding to the RCMP, and the regional district of the Kootenay Boundary for delivery of emergency response services through the Kootenay Boundary Regional Fire Rescue. And the city of Trail and its residents are experiencing increasing impacts of the opioid and toxic drug crisis, including a significant number of incidents involving drug overdoses, substance use, medical events, and drug-related calls. Emergency response to these incidents regularly requires attendance by multiple agencies, including the Kootenay Boundary Regional Fire Rescue Service, Police Services, the BC Ambulance Service. And these incidents create significant operational and financial impacts, including staffing pressures, overtime costs, vehicle and equipment deploy, training requirements, consumable medical supplies, and increased service demand. The City of Trail is the primary regional service center within the surrounding area and hosts the Kootenay Boundary Regional Hospital, along with other centralized health and social services. And due to the location of these regional services, the city of Trail experiences a disproportionate number of overdoses and drug-related incidents and emergency call volumes compared to our surrounding communities. And while emergency services are delivered through a mix of municipal, regional, and provincial systems, the city of Trail, being the largest population center and tax base, bears a significant share of the local financial burden, including through the regional service funding model. In addition to emergency response costs, the city of Trail is incurring increasing municipal costs related to vulnerable populations, including city of Trail bylaw enforcement time and resources, responding to and managing encampments, abandoned camps, and related public safety issues. Now, the city of Trail is also required to incur third-party contractor costs for removal, transport, and disposal of debris, hazardous waste, and abandoned materials left behind from encampments in order to protect public safety and environmental health. The opioid and toxic drug crisis is a provincial health emergency, and municipalities should not be required to disproportionately bear the financial burden of the systemic healthcare and social set challenges. Therefore, be it resolved that council formally requests the province of British Columbia provide targeted sustainable funding to offset the city of Trail's disproportionate share of emergency response costs associated with overdose and drug-related calls attended by the Kootenay Boundary Regional Fire Rescue Service, Police Services, and BC Ambulance Service. Council further requests the province provide targeted funding to support the city of Trail to offset increasing municipal costs related to vulnerable populations, including bylaw enforcement costs and third-party contractor cleanup and debris removal resulting from abandoned encampments and related public safety impacts. Council further requests the province establish a regional host community funding model to recognize and support communities that host regional hospitals and centralized health and social services, and therefore experience disproportionately high emergency response and municipal service demand. And the mayor be directed or asked to write the Premier of British Columbia, the Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, and the local members of the Legislative Assembly requesting funding support and long-term policy solutions. And staff be directed to compile and provide supporting data, including call volumes, year-over-year trends, overtime and staffing impacts, and direct and indirect cost estimates related to overdose and drug-related emergency response by law enforcement and encampment cleanup to strengthen the city's advocacy.
Okay,
No, that was a mouthful.
And I only fumbled a little bit.
I'll second it.
okay, thank you, Council Wilson. Is there any questions or comments on that? Council Benson?
I was hoping I could propose an amendment.
Okay,
Sorry.
We did it all again.
Well, I will
Yeah.
put it on the floor. It's just another further. And then if council seconds it, we can discuss. But further, that should the province decline these requests, staff be directed to engage with neighboring municipalities to explore regional partnership models and collaborative advocacy approaches and report back to the council with options.
I'll second it.
okay,
Just to clarify, so the motion on the floor is adding this further to the motion.
okay, we have a seconder?
Yeah.
All those in favor of adding
Of the amendment.
Of the
Of the
amendment.
amendment.
Yeah.
Being added to what?
They did
Added to
further.
what I'm-
Yeah. Okay, that was carried, and then,
Activities.
yes, no, your actual motion.
No, I have questions, but you wanna, you wanna
No, I mean, it's pretty.
present your rationale. It's all very.
I mean, it's pretty much there. I mean, we are, you know, if we're looking at the budgets, okay, so we've been looking at budgets and the costs. We pay a significant portion of the costs for a lot of things in the area. And yes, we have the biggest tax base, but we also have the regional hospital. We also are the only municipality in the region that has over 5,000 people, therefore pick up 70% of the RCMP bill, where our neighboring municipalities do not. So overtime costs get picked up by the province for our neighbors, whereas we have to pay for them and our taxpayers have to pay for them. So we have people that come and, you know, we've been made aware that people come into our regional hospital and then end up saying because we have a regional hospital, because they don't want to go back to where they came from and we've got the services. So we want to make sure the province is understanding that it is not our taxpayers that are having to have tax increases to cover bylaw, because bylaw is spending the time doing other things as opposed to doing bylaw, because she's got, I mean, Bobby's amazing and has the most wonderful rapport with our vulnerable. But a lot of her time is spent dealing with that as opposed to other things that are for the benefit of the city as a whole. So it is very important that we aren't disproportionately paying for all of the things associated with our unhoused and our individuals with drug and mental health issues. I mean, this needs to be picked up by the province. They have to be responsible for their portion as a public health emergency, not just our taxpayers.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, I have 3 questions. First of all, I support the intent of the motion entirely, and I think it clearly reflects the pressures that our community and our emergency services are experiencing as a result of what you talked about, toxic drug crisis and drug addiction. I do have questions regarding the final direction to staff, asking them to compile supporting data. Some of the information referenced, such as emergency call volumes, overtime pressures, and operational impacts, may sit with agencies that are not directly under the city's control, such as the RCMP, BC Ambulance, and Regional Fire. So through the chair, I would ask staff whether the city has direct access to that information, or whether compiling that data would require a coordinated effort with those partner agencies. And if that coordination is required, I would want to ensure that the motion acknowledges that collaboration so the staff have a realistic pathway to assemble that information as needed to strengthen the city's advocacy efforts to the province. So that's my first question to the chair.
Okay, David, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah. Thank you through the chair. Yeah, I think in terms of the fire service, that one is a little bit more simply the data is easier to collect in the sense that we pay into that service directly as a municipality. So, you know, through the fire chief, that is a regional fire chief, that might be the easiest path for information in terms of BC Ambulance and RCMP. It might take a little bit longer and we might need to provide more clarity on what we're looking for in terms of those numbers. From what I've seen, there is other communities that are asking similar things and have tried to encapsulate that data as best they can. It's something we could try and emulate in terms of that, but those two might be a little bit more difficult than the fire service.
Thank you. My next question through the chair relates to how we would establish a benchmark for those costs. We may need to distinguish between normal municipal costs and the additional impacts associated with being a regional service center. So through the chair, I would ask staff whether establishing a historical or comparative baseline is something that could be reasonably done as part of this data collection.
It's a bit of an unknown, Councillor Cashel.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but you can see where I'm going with
Yes,
this, the difficulty in determining that difference
Yes.
of what Councillor Hanson alluded to.
Go ahead, David.
Thank you through the chair. And as noted, you know, this emergency crisis has been in the works for 10 years now. So what is the benchmark? Is that 2006? And then, you know, it's hard. And is that data there? And what does that look like? Yeah, that's a great question that I don't think we can answer readily.
No, and I appreciate that. I think it just shows the difficulty and maybe the ask that we're putting the city under. Finally, if I may ask my third question.
I just was thinking of responding.
Oh.
In addition to, Mayor.
Sure,
Sorry.
go ahead.
And Councillor Cashel, I do appreciate the diligence that you're inquiring. I think just getting an idea to associate with, you know, such as our bylaw enforcement. How much time does she spend with the vulnerable and the unhoused and encampments, and the cost that we have from third-party cleanup? That's probably data that's fairly readily available for us. And then reaching out to, you know, our RCMP, asking how much time do they spend on average dealing with our vulnerable, our, you know, overdoses, drug addictions. And I think that would be somewhat similar to the fire department getting that same kind of information. And then looking at what that is costing, right? I mean, every time they get a call out, what does a call out cost? I mean, I don't think we need to get down to like the dollars and cents in actuality, but going, how much has this change affected all of our municipalities and the monies we're spending comparatively to those that don't have regional services?
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'll just kind of build on that point. I think it would be difficult from a staff perspective if we were putting kind of figures together and it's more anecdotal rather than actually based in the either monetary or fiscal realities. I don't know if that, not saying that letters can't be sent, but trying to provide it with that data that is just merely. And to your point, I think we could quantify, again, anecdotally, what our bylaw officers spend on the vulnerable population. Council sees that in the reports, that's based on all of their complaints, and so, numerically, we could deduce a percentage, and again, to your point, Councilor Hanson, we are now, have third-party contractors that we're trying to get in to clean up more difficult areas when available, and those costs can definitely be tracked. So I just don't know how much in terms of not providing hard numbers, but anecdotally to the province in this, if that would kind of provide any substance to the limit.
Go ahead.
And
Councillor.
finally, through the chair, thank you, Doran and Councillor Hanson. So given the emergency responses involved Kootenay Boundary Regional Fire, BC Health Services, RCMP, and the city's bylaw, has any consideration been given to how potential funding could be actually allocated amongst those services? And that's another very difficult question, because I think what I'm getting at here is, I really like this motion. We can definitely incorporate it in this motion, and with the exception, I don't like the very last paragraph with staff being directed. I think we're asking for something that is really not possible to achieve. And I get the theory behind it and the logic behind it, but the practical application of it concerns me, and I'm not comfortable asking for something that I just can't see the end result being available. So my position on this motion, sorry, I didn't give you a chance to give an answer. I apologize. Because I appreciate it's a difficult question, but I'll put it out there again. How do we allocate the funds?
Yeah.
Apologize for the long-windedness.
Thank you, through the chair, to council. That's probably not an answer for city staff. Through this motion, we're asking the province to create a funding stream to balance this, and so that would be up to them. I will reiterate, council approved a resolution that will be going to AKBLG, very similar to this, and that is again, at the AKBLG level is a regional request, and if approved at UBCM, which would again, trying to garner provincial support on that, which is asking just that, to create a level of funding. At that point, it's up to the province to decide if they are to do that and how they are to implement that. That is to say, where City of Trail is not the only regional host of a hospital or a regional hospital. So what does that look like in terms of, additional funding? It's just very difficult to say how they would allocate that, if they even were to consider the resolution.
Can I just quickly add to that, because I think the data would be skewed a bit, because we haven't included the 3 or 4 nonprofit community volunteers that go out and do a lot of this work for the overdoses and drug-related emergency responses. So I think how would we ever collect that data? Because they're out for days every week. Sorry, Councillor Benson, did you have your hand up?
I did, but I don't remember.
Oh, no.
So I'll call you at 3 in the morning.
Councillor Wilson, you had your hand up.
Can I-
The motion?
After what we're hearing, make a friendly amendment to remove just that last blurb from Tia's motion there, staff be directed to compile and provide the supportive data.
I would second that motion.
One, it wouldn't be a friendly amendment, just an amendment.
Unfriendly.
Unfriendly.
Unfriendly amendment.
Just in guidance, it would be structured something of, we've added that last amendment paragraph, so I would just say that the motion or the paragraph related staff, that council strike the paragraph, staff be directed to compile and provide supporting data, including call volumes, year-over-year trends, overtime and staffing impacts, and direct and indirect cost estimates related to overdose and drug-related emergency response by law enforcement and encampment cleanup to strengthen the city's advocacy. So that is on the floor as an amendment, been moved.
No, Councillor Hanson, you want to speak to that?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
But you
It's your
you
motion.
go first.
No, I think we're getting down a rabbit hole about details and what we will and will not get. The fact is, we're simply asking to reach out to those parties and see what they have to provide to us, just to add, even if it is anecdotally, what we are actually. What we're putting into it, what we're dealing with, so the province is seeing the numbers that our RCMP are reporting. So when we go down and meet with E Division and we say, look, we're finding out that this much time is being spent with this. Sorry, Health Minister, Miss Osborne, this is what we're dealing with our community. They have had data, we have had something, even if it doesn't get down to the details, having some sort of data that is accessible, whatever it may be that staff finds that we can add to it. It only helps support the fact that there is a need and we're addressing the needs of our community, that we're having to bear a disproportional amount of the costs associated with drug addiction and unhoused in our community.
Counselor, Benson.
Thank you, through the chair. I support Counselor Hansen's reasoning here, and that's the reason I made the amendment, was because if staff is going to the effort of getting the data, and I have a feeling I know what the province is gonna say to us, and I would hate that it just be a dead end. At least there's a next step after that in terms of approaching our neighboring municipalities. I recently did a LinkedIn post, and I had counselors from other close municipalities saying, I wish we could help you, how can we help you? And here you go. This is how you can help us, because when we're downtown, and I know the general comment is that the majority of the vulnerable people downtown are from Trail. When they say Trail, they mean Greater Trail. There's people from all of our municipalities around here, and I think it's time that we ask our neighbors for more help.
Agreed.
Counselor Butler.
Would it be
No,
fair?
Counselor Butler, you had your hand up
Sorry,
first.
would it be fair enough to just reword it to, instead of compile and provide, but change the request if available?
Dave?
Yeah, so, sorry, so the other amendment by Councilor Wilson was not on the phone.
Is it directed?
So people have,
So
so. Councilor Butler, if you'd like to make a motion to amend.
I would like to amend it from compile and provide, which are directive words, to request, which is an asking word. If available, to include it in there.
I'll second that.
And we can get a
And,
vote.
and the reasoning behind it is also to recognize that staff time is extremely valuable. And that we all know there's a problem here. And that I don't think it's up to staff to be searching for information forever and a day.
Okay, so Counselor Wilson seconded it.
Yes.
So all those in favor of the amendment? Thank you, that was carried. And Counselor Cavanagh.
Yeah, just a final note, I appreciate, I didn't wanna make one more amendment, no. No, you're just too serious. No, listen, I wanna say thank you to Mr. Moorhead for his explanation. I was reading this that there was going to be so much, and thank you, Councillor Butler, for your comments as well, that there was gonna be so much effort on the part of our staff to compile this information, but now that we've got some clarity around that, being anecdotal, and the fact that they're not gonna be responsible ourselves to try and figure out how it's gonna be allocated, good luck with that. I will support this motion as it stands, with the amendment that Councillor Butler just made.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So we have a mover on the main and amended motion.
And a second.
Is there a seconder?
There's already.
Yeah.
Okay, we did.
Yeah,
Okay.
as amended.
All those in favor? That was carried. Thank you.
Hey,
Sorry if I get lost a bit.
No, that's
Yeah, very well.
that was Councillor Hansen's fault.
lot of
They're
work.
way too. late.
Okay,
That's,
moving on to
yeah.
B,
that's my fault. because I-
and we have a notice, a motion introduced by Councillor Cassel at the February 23rd, 2026 regular council meeting for consideration at the March 9th, 2026 regular council meeting. And that is that council directs staff to investigate the feasibility of the Trail Aquatic and Leisure Center remaining open for regular public use on Family Day each year, the third Monday in February, in order to provide families with access excuse me, to recreation on this statutory holiday, and further that staff report back to council on any operational, oh God, did you get me introduced? For staffing considerations associated with maintaining a family day. Oh, we're falling apart, you guys, just bear with us,
Hang in there.
we're getting there. Okay, so further that staff report back to council on an operational or staffing consideration, thank you, associated with maintaining family day operations.
That makes sense.
You want to speak to the
Well, I'll
second?
second it, we get it on the floor, and
Any questions or comments?
just a bit of, I guess, rationale, short little rationale, if I may. First of all, I want to be clear in saying that this motion is a result of residents' feedback, okay? And, I didn't come up with this one on my own. Like I don't with many motions, actually. Family Day is intended to promote time spent together with families. And as we know, school's out and children are available to spend time with their families. The Trail and Aquatic Leisure Center is a key community asset that supports health, wellness, and family recreation. Keeping the facility open aligns with community expectations and maximizes the public benefit of a civic amenity on a statutory holiday. And I just want to kind of add to this, that even if the facility is not being put to use, there's still a substantial cost just to have it sitting there. So my motion is that it be open on Family Day for the reasons that I just cited, and I'm hoping council will support that motion. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. So we have a seconder. All those in favor of Councillor Cashel's motion? And that was carried unanimously, thank you.
I'm not amending it.
And so the next notice of motion we have, introduced by Councillor Benson at the February 23rd, 2026 regular council meeting for consideration at the March 9th, 2026 regular council meeting. And the resolution is that council directs staff to initiate a comprehensive review and update of the City of Trails Fire Safety and Prevention Bylaw number 2335, including but not limited to the provisions governing open burning within the city limits. And further, that staff investigate options for permitting backyard fires within the City of Trail, including potential approved fire pit designs, safety standards, permitting options, operational guidelines, and enforcement considerations. And that further, the staff report back to council by September of 2026 with recommended bylaw amendments, regulatory options, and any associated safety, environmental, operational, and financial implications.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Anyways,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Council. Oh, yes, you made the
I would like
motion.
to speak to it. This was also brought to me by many residents, so I brought it forward. Many municipalities across BC have modernized their fire prevention bylaws in recent years to respond to residents' interest in safe, regulated backyard fires. I committed to bring this before council, and because our bylaw has not undergone an update for a very long time. One thing I like about this, and it's kind of similar to the motion Councillor Cashel made before, this is something within our control right now at a time when many of our agendas shaped by things that aren't really in our control, if I may say. And I did my homework on this. I spoke to members of our fire department who support having this relooked at. Just to make sure that we weren't way off base. And I also spoke with staff in terms of the timeline, and that's why it's a September date. I wanted to be respectful of their strategic priorities. My motion speaks to some of the specifics, and I hope you consider supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Benson. Councillor Cashel.
yeah, thank you. So you did kind of address this somewhat, Councillor Benson. Is there demonstrated public demand? It's my first question for this request.
I would say. I've been hearing about it for years.
Okay, that answers my first question.
Yeah.
Next question through the chair, who will be responsible for enforcement of the open pit, fire pits? Will it be bylaw or will it be our, regional district fire department?
Well, I was wondering the same thing, and I'm actually hoping that when staff report back, they have that information in September.
Look, you're making very good progress here, so I'm gonna keep trying. No, this is called, anyway, through the chair, I guess my point that I'll make is this bylaw in the queue? And I know that there was talk previous with Ms. Butler that all the bylaws, this is a 20-year-old bylaw, and I agree, it definitely needs review. But is this one in the queue already? That's to staff for a policy review, does it have to be, given this comprehensive review right away? Is it a priority request is what I'm getting at?
Counselor Benson, do you have an answer?
I
know
do.
You've been investigating.
When I talked to Chief Derby about it, he had mentioned that he was hoping that it would be under review. I don't know if it was in the queue, but I don't really necessarily know if anything is really
Go ahead,
in the queue.
David.
Thank you through the chair, the council. Not necessarily, but as we talked about through corporate services, one thing we are looking at is trying to get more active in our bylaw and policy review. Right now, our department hasn't created an outline of what we're going to look at in terms of actual bylaws and where they're slated in. So currently in discussion with Councilor Butler before this, before it was brought forward, we felt that we could get this in the queue for review before the September date.
Thank you, those are all my questions.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Martin.
Thank you, through the chair. This is something that's been talked about, discussed when I was still working. That's over 9 years ago. At that time, I spoke to a sitting councillor and asked, very similar to what Councillor Benson is putting forward, and I was laughed at because they didn't want to make any changes. We all understand that there's so many people within the city of Trail who have backyard fires right now that aren't regulated. I think if this is regulated properly, and if it's done the way it should be done, I think it would be something on a beneficial note to a lot of citizens within the city of Trail. Yeah, it's gotta be regulated and it's gotta be checked, but I think it would be good.
Question to the chair, what qualifications do you have?
Wow.
No, I'll retract that quick, I know your qualifications, Councilor.
Counselor Benson.
Just for those maybe watching that don't know what your former profession was, what did you used to do, Councillor Martin?
I was the regional fire chief and fire dispatch manager.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you.
Did you vote yes?
He did. I just throw another debate in there.
So our next meeting is March 23rd, 2026 for the committee of the whole, followed by a regular council meeting at 6 p.m.
Oh, yes.
Oh, there's a couple notice of motions that I have to make, like,
He's reading some into them.
Oh, sorry.
that's the format. Thank you, your worship. Notice of motion, whereas council has received written and verbal concerns from downtown business owners and other stakeholders regarding the operations and impacts of the El Nino temporary homeless shelter, and whereas public confidence in public funded services requires transparency and accountability, therefore be it resolved that council formally invite representatives from the El Nino shelter and BC Housing to attend a public council meeting to provide an overview of shelter operations, occupancy and client origin protocols, security and incident protocols, outcome reporting metrics, and oversight and audit processes currently in place. And further, that council requests written confirmation from BC Housing outlining the date of the most recent compliance review or audit and whether an additional review is planned. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Cashel.
And my second notice of motion reads as follows. Whereas multiple downtown business owners and other stakeholders have formally expressed concerns to council regarding open drug use, overdoses, vandalism, shoplifting, assault, threats, and public disorder in the downtown core. And whereas the local RCMP detachment is currently significantly understaffed, limiting proactive foot patrols and enforcement presence. And whereas the city's two-person bylaw team are working to capacity during day shift hours, Monday to Friday. And whereas business owners have identified a lack of clarity between bylaw enforcement and police responsibilities, contributing to frustration and perceived inaction. Therefore, be it resolved, the council directs staff to prepare a feasibility study examining options for the implementation of a 7-day per week downtown community safety patrol, including number one, the potential use of contracted licensed security personnel. Number two, estimated annual operating costs and potential funding sources. Number three, oversight and reporting structure. Number four, defined roles and coordination protocols with the RCMP and municipal bylaw enforcement. And number five, the feasibility of establishing a small downtown office or viable base of operations. That is my motion. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Okay, we're moving on to, the next meeting is March the 23rd, 2026 for the Committee of the Whole, followed by the regular council meeting at 6 p.m. held in the council committee room and or chambers at 1394 Pine Avenue, Trail, BC, and via Zoom live. Via Zoom live meeting. And we are on to question period. Is there anybody online that has a question? There is.
And there's some questions here too, Colin.
Okay, thanks.
And we're just bringing her on. She comes. Hi, Tammy, are you online now? If you are, you can ask a question.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, here I am. Thank you. What my question was, just related to costs for the city related to response to the unhoused population. And one of the things, I guess my question is, has council considered looking at an overdose prevention site, which would decrease the numbers of ambulance calls, fire department calls, and also policing calls. I was out the other day and a young woman was down by the library, and there was the fire truck, the big car ambulance, the small paramedic car, and 2 police officers. And so, this was just a straightforward, if I can put it that way, overdose. But looking at a place where if people are going to consume substances and have overdoses, then looking at something like an overdose prevention site where people could be monitored and brought back would decrease the amount of calls and subsequently the cost to the municipality for all of those things, because we're paying for that service already through policing, fire, and ambulance resources being mobilized for overdoses. And then the other was just more of a comment on the BC Centre for Disease Control. There's a bunch of data there on their emergency dashboard where you can look at paramedic calls for various different municipalities and what the numbers, how many you have, how many overdoses per your community, those kinds of things. So there is publicly available data there to help in deliberations around further funding for services here. And just the reflection of those numbers, I think in Danny Ferrero's letter, he mentioned that ambulance calls are up by over 1,000%, and that is in fact correct. And that is a reflection of the toxicity of the drug supply at present time. And so adding resources rather than helping people to stay alive through this would be something council could consider. So I was just wondering if council is considering any of those things.
Thank you, Tammy. I do want to say that we have invited Interior Health to a council meeting in the near future, and I'm not sure, Sandy, if we've had a reply back from them yet, or no? Okay. So, and it is for that kind of a discussion as well. And that was actually a motion that Councillor Cashel made. last council meeting on March 9th.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions on Zoom,
there are
yes,
questions. Yeah,
I'll
okay.
go get, question period. You guys want to come up?
Thank you,
Or-
Mayor, Council, for this opportunity. I'd like to speak in support of, our letter tonight, if I may.
Sorry.
Name and municipality.
Oh, sorry, we need your name, please.
Lord Fisher,
From Trail,
Trail BC.
thank you.
So, for some background, we've been landowners in Grottage Avenue since 1995. We didn't just jump down there as an opportunistic move because the walking bridge went in or they repaved the roads and beautified it. We had aspirations and intentions for a long time, way before 1995 was an idea. We had an opportunity, we've grown on that idea and opportunity to where we are today. So this massive change that happened 3 or 4 years ago was welcome, but the fallout's been less than welcome. We have had unfettered access to parking down there since 1995, and there's never been an issue, ever, with all the people that park down there. I may point out that I know there's paid parking now to the Jubilee Manor, which was constructed when I was on council as a low-income senior housing operation. They put in a nice parking lot there. When it opened, there's maybe 6 cars in there because everybody was 80 years old and low income. Things have morphed. Now there's nothing but $60,000 cars down there and you need an overflow. I don't think the residences on Grottage Avenue have to pick up that responsibility. Personal opinion. To speak to Mr. McClure's comment about we rent spaces out, those are for convenience. We never solicited for rent. The sanctuary wanted someplace close. They could always get there, happy to oblige. We do have expenses, yeah. So it helps with taxes, whatever, for sure. If it helps this request, I'm happy to fence that off. Block off the parking that we charge. We have 14 bedrooms over 6 properties down there. Over a 4-bedroom, 3 2-bedrooms. And if everybody had a car in all those bedrooms, that's 14 cars. So that's why Mr. McClure mentioned we talked in terms of 2 spots, and there's no markings down there, by the way, that we do have those spots. I don't know what the situation is right now, but the top end is potential for 14 people with cars. I would never want that by myself, for ourselves, but just to say at the top end, we sold all the properties and there's a bunch of different owners, you don't know what you're gonna get. It's the oldest residential area in Trail. One that's very similar to that is on Tamarack Avenue here, where you have an apartment building, number of houses. There's no paid parking up there. I don't know where the paid parking is for residents in Trail that Mr. McClure spoke of, but I just see street parking everywhere, and I don't see anybody else paying for it. And we're just asking for what we've historically had. It's not, we're not going for something extra on top of. And the parking across the street, we're hoping to move ahead with that project. And there'll be parking for that project on that site. But in the meantime, yeah, we can use that as an overflow or whatever, a convenience. But it's tough to, I can tell you, renting, telling people there's a charge for parking, and I don't even bring it up till the home stretch. So I'm just, I'm here for any questions you may have, but I wanna make sure it's clear and where we're coming from. We're not asking for anything extra, just how it's always been. And we've heard the report that all the spots are rented down there. And as that might be, I've never seen it more than 60% full. In the 2 years that it's been finished. So I'm not sure you guys have all the information on that, but. And as I said before, the renovation down there, we never had a problem ever. So I could add that, it's, I'm available for any questions. That's all you want.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Oh. Am I able to ask some questions?
Got lots of questions, we can reach out.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions tonight? No?
Is there anyone else online that would like to ask a question? If you do, please raise your hand. No further questions, your worship.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is adjournment. Okay, all those in favor? And that was carried, thank you.